Hello. Are New Zealand accents ugly? Well, let's take a look at a clip I recently came across. It's Rose McIver, a New Zealand actress based in the USA. She's being interviewed by Conan O'Brien. And she says New Zealand accents are ugly. Why would she say that? Let's find out, and let's see if Conan agrees or not. So if you're not familiar with Rose McIver, she's a New Zealand actress. She's quite active in the USA these days. She's been in a number of roles in recent years. I think she's most famous for her breakout role in The Lovely Bones. But if we scroll down on her IMDb here, she's been in quite a lot of stuff. So she's pretty active. Always good to see a Kiwi doing well in Hollywood. But she thinks that New Zealand accents are ugly, according to this interview she did fairly recently with Conan O'Brien. Let's have a listen as to why she thinks New Zealand accents are ugly.
I had no idea. You're from New Zealand, and what I've seen of the show, you have an amazing American accent.
Thank you. I always thought that I had a good American accent, and coming from New Zealand, it's a big deal. Like when you're trying to get work here, you have to have it sort of nailed. And
yeah, I can imagine so. That makes sense. You're not going to get many roles in American movies and TV shows without an American accent, I imagine. Unless, of course, you're playing the stereotypical villains that often appear in those movies.
I always thought that was the reason that I booked a lot of work, was I've always had this good American accent.
How'd you get it?
Well, I went back and watched clips of when I was 4. I was in Hercules, which shot in New Zealand. Turns out I was terrible. I have a terrible American accent.
Right.
Oh, come on, she's only 4. How good can you be at doing other accents when you're 4 years old, let alone acting?
And I just learned on the job, and so fingers crossed now people can't.
And first of all, I like your accent.
Oh.
Would you not like the New Zealand accent?
It's pretty ugly.
You think it's ugly?
It's pretty ugly. I love our country, but I don't like our accent.
You don't like?
Interesting. So Conan here is repeating what's generally been my experience. I've traveled across the USA and a few other countries, and when I was in the USA, Americans largely were pretty positive on my accent. I guess it depends on the speaker, of course, but overall, people seem to really like it.
I like the New Zealand accent. No. That's so funny. I think it's fantastic. I'm from Boston, and I can't stand I grew up hearing the Boston accent, and I was like, oh my, I couldn't stand it growing up.
And have you tried?
I guess it's pretty common to be a little bit critical or a bit cringe of things that you're familiar with quite a lot. I mean, the biggest critics of any place are usually the locals, right? It's just human nature. I've certainly had times when I've thought New Zealand accent sounds a little bit ugly. I think the first few times I heard my own voice being played back, I thought, geez, do I sound like that? That's oof. But as I said before, it does depend a lot on the speaker.
The New Zealand accent?
No, prefer the New Zealand accent to the Boston accent. But I don't think I could do a New Zealand.
I think I'd quite like to hear him do a New Zealand accent. Actually.
I don't think I could do it. I don't know how to say something.
All right, this should be good. I'm always keen to hear Americans try to do a New Zealand accent because it's famously very, very difficult for many people to try and mimic, especially Americans for some reason.
Tell me what to say.
Say, g'day, mate.
G'day, mate. See, that's just a pirate. That's not a...
It's like a clipped Australian. It's kind of in your nose.
That's a little more promising.
When I did
Yeah, she says... I forget this guy's name, but she says he's a little bit more promising. Yeah, a bit more promising, but I don't know. He's doing that whole weird thing where a lot of Americans seem to think we say words like nose like nose or go like go. It's a bit weird, but maybe he's onto something. Let's hear.
I actually worked on a movie in New Zealand, and on the radio I heard an ad, and they said, are you tired of sleeping on a bad bed? But they said, are you tired of sleeping on a bad bed?
Okay, that was pretty good. I've heard a lot of foreigners say that about New Zealand English. Our vowel sounds seem to all just blend in together, especially like the E and the A sounds. Are you tired of sleeping on a bad bed? I don't know. How does that sound?
A bed.
A bed bed.
A bed.
My bed is bed.
Yeah.
I had to do a film where I said the word dirtboard in an American accent. Turns out that is the hardest word in an American accent.
What? Dirt
board?
Dirtboard. Dirtboard.
What's a dirt board?
Yeah, what the hell is a dirt board? Dirt board.
That's an excellent question.
Yeah. Are you sure this was a movie? I think they were just
insulting a schoolmate.
I know.
Dirt board.
Okay, so for the rest of the interview, they just talk about Rose's career. But staying on the subject of our New Zealand accents ugly, I mean, let's hear a few more examples. Let's have a listen to former New Zealand politician Simon Bridges. Simon is famous for having a very stereotypical Kiwi accent, and he's come under a lot of flack for this, either from his political opponents or just the New Zealand public in general.
Look, I'm holding the government to account on their taxes. They want to hold me to account on my accent. I'm cool with that.
The National Party is no stranger to attack ads themselves, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at what we've done, though, we do it on things we think make a serious point. Cost of living, the taxes this government's piled on. And I think if you take the Green Party's ad, the reality is, I haven't seen it before, but this week we've had unprecedented attack ads. Labor's done a couple on me. The Greens have done one. I think it shows they really...
Yeah, what do you think? And actually, if I scroll back this video a little bit, you'll hear the parody that the Green Party of New Zealand, the opposition party to Simon Bridges' party at the time, made mocking his accent.
Come on down to Simon's Imports and check out these low prices that I've got on these climate-friendly cars. Prices are down. Emissions are down. My polling is down.
The man himself.
What do you guys think? He certainly does that very stereotypical Kiwi thing of saying I, like I am, as I am. And he really, flattens out his E sounds, like excellent. And in this video clip, you may have heard him talk about paying taxes. So yeah, Simon Bridges is an example of a Kiwi who, yeah, some might say he's a little bit grating on the ears. Now, if you're a New Zealander and you're old enough to remember, Chloe from Wainuiomata, she was a woman who, for some reason, got her 15 minutes of fame back in the 90s. And at the time, there was always a lot of talk about her accent and the way she speaks. I mean, listen to this.
You don't see a lot of these sorts of things in another part.
I love these. These are actually children's slippers.
Really?
But I fell in love with them. I just had to get them. You know, I was losing sleep not having them, so I had to go and get them.
Do you like it? Is it cringe? Why don't we listen to an example of a New Zealander with a good accent? Well, who's to say who has a good accent? A lot of people would say Sam Neill has a very nice voice, very nice accent.
This is based on some very profound material. It's no accident that Ibsen's plays continue to sell out, like Chekhov or, these great playwrights. They write things that are enthralling and exciting, but also things that we understand because they...
I think it's fair to say that Sam Neill doesn't have what you would call a typical New Zealand accent. It is very nice to listen to nonetheless. It's a lot more refined. Of course, he is an actor. He's spent a lot of time during his career hopping between Australia and New Zealand. And I only found out a few years ago that he is actually originally from Northern Ireland, although he moved to New Zealand when he was quite young. But yeah, nice voice, nice accent. I'm not sure if it's typical. Why don't we try and find someone who's a little bit more typical Kiwi sounding? Okay, I think an excellent example of a more typical sounding New Zealander is Carl Urban. Carl's originally from Wellington. Of course, he's pretty famous these days for his role in The Boys. Let's listen to his accent.
In true boys fashion, if you make the right choice, you get rewarded, and if you make the wrong choice, you get punished. And Butcher has a tendency of 9 times out of 10, he will make the wrong choice.
Okay, I reckon Carl's accent is a lot closer to what you might typically hear in New Zealand every day. Anyway, I'm really interested to hear what you think. Are New Zealand accents ugly? Or is it just on some people they don't sound very nice? And hey, if you want to listen to a few more examples of some Americans and some other foreigners trying to do a New Zealand accent, then why not check out this other video I made on it a while back.